Hello from New York City. It is May 3rd, and welcome to your next 24. I hope you're well. It's Sunday, but what does that really mean anymore? It's a day. And let's get to it. Just a quick couple words. I am a tarot reader from New York City. I have started these daily, I'm calling tarot meditations, to really focus on maybe what it is that we can handle. And for me, that's about 24 hours at a time, a day at a time right now. So we go through the reading, we go through each line by line, and really I encourage you to look at the images and take away from yourself kind of what you're seeing, what jumps out at you. And these are just meant to be prompts for meditation today, maybe journaling, things to consider in the next 24 hours. So we'll get started. The first line is the Ace of Coins, the Ten of Swords, and the Ten of Wands. So really interesting insofar as aces are in every suit about the spark, the beginning, the kind of magical initiation from the universe. Coins in this deck, pentacles, material things that, possessions, money, homes, businesses. And these are new starts. So we have this initiation, this beginning, this first step, or in some cases, when I read it, sometimes it's kind of like the ultimate, right? It is our focus. And I think it really does anchor the rest of the reading, that this reading is very focused in the material aspects. And how do we balance those material needs with the spiritual growth that we're, in some ways being forced to go through right now. Because right next to this beginning, we have two endings. We have the Ten of Swords. I talk about I love this Ten of Swords. This is kind of the minor arcana version of the Death card, which is about transformation. We have the butterfly here. The butterflies come out of its cocoon. Tens are about endings. When you get two tens side by side, it's a really strong indication that, I immediately look at the suit, and these are swords, so thoughts, maybe the ending of negative self-talk, and wands, which is fire and action. So how are we changing the way we act? Ending of a certain pattern. But let's talk about the Ten of Swords. In traditional Rider-Waite imagery, it's actually rather gory. There's usually an image of an individual on the ground. Sometimes the swords are going through the back. Sometimes there's blood going through the heart. This is a little more peaceful image of the Ten of Swords, but it acknowledges that endings are difficult. Just as beginnings are difficult in a different kind of way, maybe scary. Our feet aren't underneath us fully. We're just learning to walk in a certain way, or focus on certain things in a different way. Same way with endings are challenging in a different kind of way. It's even if a behavior or a thought pattern or a relationship has not served us well, and we know it's been toxic, it doesn't mean it's easy to walk away from. Changing the way we are, breaking habits is really difficult. It makes us look at why we hold on to those behaviors in the first place. What have we been getting out of it? Questions to ask there. And then we have the Ten of Wands, and this is really about burdens, overcommitment. When the load that we are carrying, the weights that we are carrying almost become too great, it can promise some material rewards, quite frankly, but at a cost, at a spiritual, physical cost. So this could really just be speaking to how hard we are having to hold on to our resources, our actual financial resources. It can talk about that we're having to maybe let go of a job and think about new ways to earn a living. It can speak too about just the pressure that we are all under right now. So many people have filed for unemployment. The swords in our back, that fear that we're not going to be able to make ends meet, is becoming incredibly oppressive for many. So questions I would ask for you in this first line would be, how are you managing your finances at this time? What has become too great to bear? Do you need to talk about it with somebody? Do you need to express yourself in a way so you can let go of those nagging thoughts, those worries, those things that keep you up at night, about the way you're potentially going to be able to provide for yourself and others at this time? Because the next line is really about confusion, right? We have the Chariot, Neptune represented here. We have the Two of Swords, which is really basically the minor arcana version of the Chariot. And we have the Queen of Coin, or in this case, coins, pentacles. Again, earthly, tangible things. So the Chariot is often seen as a card of victory, but it's not going to be a clear cut path to success. These two horses, the charioteer is often having to balance these two horses or control these two horses, which are wanting to go in very different directions, right? It's about success, but the path itself is not clear of how that success is going to come about. It's also about movements. This can be actual physical movement. You may be considering a move. You may be considering going for a drive today, but it is about movement forward towards a successful outcome, although the path may be windy and not terribly clear. And that's followed again, echoed directly in the Two of Swords. Each sword represents a truth, right? One sword is true, the other sword is true. Both are true, so which one do you choose? The Two Swords, the words that come to mind for me are impasse, being at an impasse, not knowing which way to go. Again, very much echoed in the Chariot. So this really is about decisions and not knowing how to choose, maybe putting an end to a situation or how to move forward if that end has been forced upon us, and which direction to go in. Because really it seems like what's on the collective's mind today is how to create that material comfort to re-ground ourselves. We've lost, most of us have lost our routine, our every single day routine, and somewhat haphazard routines, maybe more strict routines have come up in its place. But I do believe there's for better or for worse, the things that grounded us, that kept our days understandable or kind of expected, have really gone by the wayside. And I think for many, there is a sense of wanting to feel grounded again, wanting to know what's going to come next, tired, quite frankly, of the surprises and the drama. So what I would suggest, if this is resonating in any way, in terms of how to make decisions and how to move forward, is to actually go outside if you can and put your feet on the ground. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Or if you can't go outside, that's fine. Just spend time with your feet planted firmly on the ground and feel that there's a lot of meditations on YouTube, guided meditations for grounding. This is really speaking to, these roots are just jumping out at me. This sense of anxiety and uncertainty to ground yourself today is very important. And then this last line, we have the world, a lot of major arcana today. We have the Empress, and we have the King of Wands. So from that grounding, it looks like we move quickly into, that one of those horses wins, because we move quickly to completion. Another 10, by the way. These are all 2 10s. We have the world here. 10 insofar, anyhow, completion. Beginning is the ending. The ending is the beginning. Ouroboros, snake eating itself. The fixed signs of the zodiac here. So this is, and I've really been noticing these 2 wands in the middle, which the 2 of Wands to me is about beginnings, starting out on a new path. So what are you going to end today? Pick one thing, one behavior, one habit, maybe one phrase that you say to yourself too many times a day that's negative, and choose to not do that for the next 24 hours. Or if you find yourself doing it unconsciously, start taking count the number of times you do it a day, and see how deep that pattern is. And I think that's where the work is going to show up for you. What the work that you need to do is going to show up for you. We have the Empress. This is about creation, so new ways of being. This is, very much the nurturing mother energy, fairly echoed in the Queen of Coin, in that it's about abundance, creation, nourishing ourselves. The Empress nourishes others. She's the caregiver. How can we take care of ourselves in a new way today? How can we change a pattern and take care of ourselves in a new way today? And when we do that, I think we're going to find a new way of being in the world. The King of Wands, this really looks like that really bad Will Smith movie with Aladdin, I think, live action. That really is the character it reminds me of. But, King of Fire, King of Action, dynamic leader, isn't afraid of much. I always think of the King of Wands as a very handsome individual, just ready for, he's a happy guy. He is ready to act on that next great adventure. So, what's your next great adventure today? And then I have to say, 7 of Wands, old friend, you've been showing up almost every single day. And again, I think this is just defensiveness, protect. I think it's showing up as much as it is because this need to protect. The 7 of Wands is often an image of an individual who's fighting off 6 others, holding his ground, standing his ground. I think this really is just speaking to having to protect our own personal space in a way that is brand new to almost every single one of us, that we have to create that 6-foot distance. And how are we going to create that space? How are we going to defend our personal space and still have compassion and connection to others? So I hope this was useful in some way. If you can journal on these thoughts, or just take them with you through the next 24 hours. I do hope it's useful. I appreciate you stopping by. Know that you are loved, and I will talk with you soon.